Does it? Oh, it says we're live.
I think we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to...
Just making sure. Live.
I think we're live. Pop it in the chat if we're live. This is our first YouTube live, so we're here now. This is our very first YouTube live. It's our very first webinar. We're very excited to be here. For those that don't know me, I'm Rebecca. I'm the operations manager here at Excite Media.
And I'm Laura English. I'm the head of SEO and copywriting.
And perfect. Thank you, Carl, for confirming that we are live. That is good to know. It's our first one, so you're going to have to be nice to us as we go through this.
Yeah.
So today, welcome. We are going to be discussing AI and SEO, a very big buzzword topic. This is our live webinar off the back of our book called WTF is SEO. If you haven't heard of it yet, you can go and watch the other YouTube videos on our channel, or you can go purchase it on Amazon. I believe the link is in the description as well.
Yes.
So shall we dive in? I guess, Laura, AI is a massive just part of SEO at the moment. So I guess we didn't really touch too much on AI and SEO of the book, only because obviously it was written a little while ago. But what really, I guess, inspired you wanting to talk about this topic and this whole conversation here?
Yeah, I guess it's almost the forgotten child of the book because of when we wrote it. So AI in SEO has moved so quickly that even though we started drafting that book a little over a year ago, it's quickly outdated. The book's not outdated, but we haven't touched on AI, and I guess it is the new big thing.
And tell me, Laura, is there another book coming out that's going to specifically focus on this? What is your thinking here?
No spoilers, but there may be talk of a bonus chapter.
Bonus chapter, something to look forward to. So yeah, I guess, Laura, set the scene for us. You've said that in the past year, SEO and I guess search in general has really changed. What specifically have you seen day to day for yourself really change with your clients and things like that?
So I guess the big change is how people are searching online. So, you know, as little as 2 years ago, when you were searching for something online, you were going to Google, maybe Bing if you're a little bit alternative, and you were typing into the search bar, and then you were finding an ad from Google or an organic listing from Google. And that's all changed now. Search habits have changed. Even if you are going to Google, Google has introduced Google AI overviews, which is sort of summarizing content and then citing, you know, anywhere between 2 and 10 articles or websites. And then there's obviously the big one, which is ChatGPT.
Absolutely. And I guess throwing in a little bit of a curveball here as well, because obviously not just AI and SEO, but even I think the younger demographic is moving even away from search, aren't they? And they're going into places like TikTok to look for answers and make purchasing decisions. So it's becoming a much broader, I guess, consumer journey, where it used to just be you search, you go to a website, you click form, you complete the transaction. It is now going left, right, center. And I think even, you know, Meta, as they've kind of changed their attribution models in how they, you know, connect which user clicked on which ad, and if that is actually attributed to Meta, speaks to that as well. So it's not just organic marketing that is changing, but actually PPC and Facebook ads and whatever you're using now, it's all changed quite quickly. So I guess if you had to describe SEO in 2025, obviously we're near the end, so maybe the later half of 2025 and moving into 2026, in one sentence, before we dive into the specifics, how would you? One sentence, one word, there's a lot to sum up.
I would say it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I think for me, I would say the whole dynamic of, you know, lots of people are saying, you know, SEO is dead. It's all about AI anymore. It's literally just evolving, as it always has. I think if you were at our book launch event on Wednesday, we kind of spoke a little bit about this, but the days of putting white words on white keywords on a white background has been over for many, many years. But lots of people kind of really worried when that happened, and they thought, oh, SEO is dead. How are we ever going to do this again? And in fact, all it did was evolve. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here as well. So let's get into the specifics of exactly AI SEO, how it works, how do you, I guess, handle it. So let's start at the very, very beginning. AI, such as ChatGPT, is an LLM, a large language model. What actually is a large language model, and why should marketers care?
I guess a large language model is basically a different kind of search engine. Are we calling it a search engine?
You can call it whatever you'd like
It's
to.
a chatbot. It is what it is. I guess like the key difference between an LLM and a search engine is if you think about what you would put into Google versus what you put into ChatGPT. Google, it's much more keyword focused, just your terms, whereas ChatGPT, it's more of a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big sort of difference. And I guess what people are really liking about ChatGPT is that it's iterative. So you say, what's the best handbag for work?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that's come to mind.
You're looking for one, maybe.
I actually am. What's the best handbag for work? And then it will give you sort of 10 listings and you go, oh, well, I don't like the color brown, so it needs to be a black leather. And then it'll show you the black leather and you go, oh, I also forgot to say that I need it to fit my 13-inch MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
And so that is making that search experience a lot nicer for people, and it's making the research process faster, easier.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess why marketers should care is because if you want your products to show up in where it's faster and easier to search, you should be thinking about ChatGPT and LLMs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll add on to that. I think something that is really important to remember is large language models are just reinterpreting and regurgitating and repackaging what's already on the web. So it isn't coming up with a brand new idea, but I think often it can feel like it's a brand new idea because it's personalized.
Yeah.
And I think personalized marketing became quite a big thing, 3 to 5 years ago. And then this is really just personalized marketing blown up, where you can get exactly what you need. And especially if you have a ChatGPT account and it, collects all that history on you, and perhaps you don't even need to clarify that you like black leather because in a previous conversation you've said that. So it really is that personalized experience, but it isn't coming up with brand new ideas. It is literally just regurgitating what is already online, which is why SEO is so important. But I guess in terms of ChatGPT, how does it differ from traditional algorithms like Google's algorithm? Because there's always been this whole joke that Google's got a secret sauce. No one really knows how it ranks things. Mm-hmm. And then Google's algorithm leaked, and then they changed it apparently. But it's a lot was revealed there on how Google actually ranked things. But how is ChatGPT ranking things that is different?
I guess if you want to strip it back to the very start of the search process, if you think about how a Google search works, you type in your key term, and I don't think a lot of people know this, but Google actually in the back end is rephrasing what you put in. So often people will search things in a more complicated way. They'll put in more words, and Google knows what that term should be. So in the back end, it'll shorten the term and I'll put it in.
Can I give my favorite example of
how this works? Give your example.
I always like to think of it like if somebody searches Barack Obama's wife's height, what it's actually doing is it's rephrasing that and saying Michelle Obama's height. So it actually knows who Barack Obama's wife is. Yeah. So that's the way that Google is rephrasing things. But keep going, sorry.
Yes, exactly. But then if you think of ChatGPT, if you are searching for something, I guess we'll use Barack Obama's wife's height, it's actually looking for all of these other terms. It's finding every term in the internet that might be slightly related to Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
And it's using all of those terms to scrape the web, pull up a bunch of information, and regurgitate it that way. I think and what I will say is SEO and ranking on AI, it is largely the same. We are just focusing on the differences here. I think it is about structured data and how easy your website is to crawl as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's always that thing in SEO where you always want to have your user first, and that's still definitely true for LLMs. Mm-hmm. But also the user for the LLM is actually sat inside the LLM. So it doesn't if you actually removed websites from it, and if say websites were private or something like that, it would be about how the bots can scrape the website and get that information as quickly and as tangibly as possible. Mm-hmm. But then obviously, because we still need front-facing websites for our clients that still go that way, it still needs to be laid out well and things like that. So that's actually a really great point, Laura. So I guess how are LLMs like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, how are they actually, users getting information from them? Is there, trying to rephrase this, how do people search in there? And then you've kind of touched on this already, but how do people search in there and then differently from Google? Because a lot of people still aren't using actually these LLMs for the entire customer journey, are they?
I think the LLM is often coming in almost at the beginning of the decision-making process.
Mhm.
So if you think about like our business, we're a digital marketing agency. To find us on Google, you're searching digital marketing agency Brisbane. If you're in ChatGPT, it's much more likely that you're searching something that's more like, why aren't I getting leads?
Mhm.
How do I get more leads from Facebook? How should I be showing up on Google, as an example? So I think people are starting the research process a lot earlier, and it's a lot more bare bones. And I think as they sort of go through the funnel and the decision-making process, then they're looking at they're asking ChatGPT like a friend, who do you think the best marketing agencies are in Brisbane?
Yeah.
And it's bringing it up that way.
Absolutely. And I think there is that component as well. And there's been some research released that currently only 6% of all ChatGPT search queries are ending in a transaction as well. And I think it's always good to remember SEO is evolving. It's going to keep changing as well. So right now it's 6%, which actually isn't that much when you think about it. A lot of people still actually want to do their form submissions. They want to get in touch. They want to purchase things actually on the website. They don't want to do anything natively in those systems. But moving forward, that could change as well. So it's always good to not overcommit at this stage, because you never know exactly how this is going to evolve and operate. But it's good to keep in the back of your head those kind of numbers and make sure that you constantly refresh yourself on where the trend is heading to know what kind of tweaks you need to make as well. But I guess speaking of that informational kind of approach, where people are doing the research phase, do you think LLMs are actually moving towards a searcherless intent where AI is delivering the answers, so people actually don't even need to go to the website?
I think it really depends on where they are in the journey and what the outcome they're hoping for is. And I know that's really vague, but I think it's so hard to answer.
I think it's product and service specific as well.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think informationally, it is becoming a little bit like that. Yeah.
I think especially in this economy, I think a lot of people tend to try and have a go at, say, fixing something themselves first. I know I was staying at Laura's house the other day, and the toilet kept going, and I was like, oh my goodness, how do I fix this? I don't want to cost Laura money.
Don't reveal how old my plumbing is.
No, your plumbing is beautiful.
Thank you.
But in that moment, I was like, I need to learn how to fix this. And I was taking photos of like, I don't know what part you're talking about. And I was taking photos and things. So there is that size of the side where it's the research phase. But if I was looking for a plumber to actually come out and fix what I couldn't fix, other than calling my husband, who also wasn't much help, by the way, I would still go to Google to look for that plumber rather than actually, use ChatGPT to find the person that could fix this for me as well. So it's always good to remember, I think, that there are those different phases, and where AI is providing those answers and it feels almost like you don't need to go to the website. I think there is a trust factor where a lot of people, especially if you're not in the marketing world, I think the marketing world can get really whipped up in all these ideas, but we do live in a bit of an echo chamber where we're all talking and we're all getting this, but slowly you'll find like your family is catching up with all these possibilities and things that they can actually do. But they're still all using Google as well. So there's always that catch up process as well. So slowly moving I guess, away from a more searchless intent. But it's still there. And I think at this stage, from what we've seen, there is still a factor of people wanting to still visit the websites and getting their own trust and authority. I guess another side tangent to that is seeing Coca-Cola's Christmas ad where they used AI for their video ad actually got a lot of pushback. A lot of people didn't love it because of the use of AI. I guess, can you talk a little bit about, I guess, why people are still not trusting AI so much?
Yeah, so I think there's a generational example that you can use here. So I think if you look at older people versus younger people, there's a generational divide in how they use devices in general. I know, as an example, I brought this up with my team. I have a few younger members in my team where we talked about booking flights. And I said, that's a laptop activity. If I'm going to book a flight and it's going to cost me up to, let's say, $1,000, I'm going to do that on my laptop because I don't trust my phone, which isn't rational. But that's how the slightly older generation feel about making those big purchases. They all agreed they would use their phone. They're happy to use their phone and they feel confident in that. And I think there's a similar sort of mindset with AI where I don't think my dad is going to trust what ChatGPT says. But I think somebody who's a bit younger is going to have a little bit more trust, but they're also going to have the context and the nuance to sort of understand what AI's limitations are, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think in marketing, we always talk about like people and putting people first. And I think obviously you can't always replicate that with AI. There's a lot that you can do with it. But the trust of a real person in a photo or a video is a little bit hard to replicate with AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I think lots of people like pointing out the mistakes AI makes as well.
They love that, yeah.
Absolutely. I guess as an SEO specialist, Laura, are there limitations or blind spots with those LLMs that you are aware of when you are, I guess, looking at how you're ranking in an LLM?
What do you mean? Do you mean?
So I guess when you are doing SEO,
yeah,
you know your process, you know your strategy, you know how to approach it. Are there things which you're doing in SEO that an LLM doesn't even consider?
I think there definitely could be. I think there's almost like the authority of a website and the context of the website, which I think Google has got down pat. Like Google has worked out the way to know exactly who the leaders are in an industry and who should be trusted. I don't think AI has quite cracked that yet.
Yeah.
I think we've seen just in recent times where ChatGPT, for example, will hallucinate a citation. We've all seen, you'll try and find the link for that and it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I always find asking ChatGPT, where did you get this information? And then it can't actually produce a source for you is always very telling.
Even this morning, you were doing something on ChatGPT and you said, you didn't do what I said. And I said, yeah you're right.
I asked it to grammar check something for me and then it changed my words.
Yeah.
I was quite offended. I was like, what's wrong with my words? And then
There's nothing wrong with your words.
That's kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is not what she said in my chapters of the book, just so everyone knows. I guess moving on a little bit more away from ChatGPT and into Google's AI overviews. Google, a very traditional, comfortable place for a lot of SEO specialists. Can you explain what Google's AI overviews and how they actually... Oh, here we go. We've got a little comment in here from someone. I would book a flight via fax. I wouldn't recommend booking a flight via fax personally. You're more than welcome to. I don't know if the airlines are going to respond to you, unfortunately, but you can give it a go. Give it a red hot crack. Let us know how you go. I'd like to hear the feedback on that marketing strategy. Yes, going back into Google AI overviews. How do Google AI overviews differ from traditional search, specifically something like featured snippets, which is something SEO specialists have always been very comfortable in? And now suddenly they're disappearing quite quickly and being replaced with AI overviews.
Yeah, so if you're unacquainted with the featured snippet and how you might optimize for that, the big thing is that sort of heading and paragraph or question and answer response. So if you think about a query on Google that's going to bring up a featured snippet, it's often a question.
How to fix a leaky toilet.
How to fix a leaky toilet. And it's going to come up with an answer. So in your blog post or your content, you want to be writing, so how do you fix a leaky toilet? And then having your answer and making sure that it's crystal clear. AI overviews are a little bit different because what Google is doing is it's getting the consensus. So it's searching across maybe what would have previously been maybe the top 10 articles that were in line to get the featured snippet. And it's sort of rewriting it with all of that in mind. What's good is that it hasn't really changed that much. You do still want that question, answer, response. That's still what you want to be providing to optimize for that.
Absolutely. And it's quite interesting, isn't it? How previously everyone was fighting for the top spot or the top 3 spots. And now you can be in the top 10 and still get consolidated into that answer as well.
Yeah.
Laura, I guess speaking on that, as a... obviously your other background is copywriting and brand. You always want to stand out from the crowd. How do you stand out from the crowd and still go along with the consensus?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
I think it's about adding something that is still true and still correct and backed up with your authority. So in Google, obviously there's how to fix a leaky toilet. I mean, the answer is often fairly obvious. There might be a few reasons that the toilet is leaking.
Absolutely.
I can't really comment on that. I'm not a plumber.
I am now with ChatGPT.
Well, yes.
A danger to say as well.
That's noted. So it's about sort of adding like a little bit more. So if you think about what other plumbers are saying, it might be quite direct, but if you can add a little bit more context, that's even put a towel down in your bathroom because it's going to get, you know, wet. I don't know why I felt uncomfortable saying that. That sort of thing. If you can add a little bit more context and you can describe the process a little bit more, that's really good. The other thing that you want to be doing is backing up your credentials. So if you're writing the blog post, you want that author bio. You want to say, this is Rebecca Nordqvist and my qualifications that I used ChatGPT once. No, you want your
I wouldn't be trusted. I wouldn't be trusted if I said that. No,
you want your credentials on there, and that's really going to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that personal experience part can't be underestimated. And even though that's not going to get cited in an AI overview necessarily, they're not going to be talking about Rebecca's experience with the leaky toilet. That actually provides context of experience. And, you know, I think, what was it? A few years ago, there was all this focus around EEAT and making sure your content was authoritative and backed up. And that is also a lot of how Google has separated the pack a little bit as well from people who were using ChatGPT to just create blogs and, you know, push out farmed content. And instead they're looking for those unique experiences that only you can have. And I think a lot of people underestimate themselves and they're like, oh, I'm just a plumber, I'm not an expert. But you'd be surprised over the years just the amount of stories and experiences and the moments that you have been through that actually would apply to that sort of situation, which really help you stand out from the pack as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then I think as well, if you think about what that AI overview looks like, you've got your answer and you've got the citations on the side. I think that's really where brand comes in because it's showing the headline of your article and it's showing your favicon, which is your little logo that sits on your website. So having a strong brand that people are going to recognize could be the difference between somebody clicking on your citation and clicking on your competitor who's above or below you in that citation pack.
Yeah, and I think that's quite interesting because, as we've said, with the searchless intent of people not clicking through, it is that recognizable brand that would really, I guess, put you aside, set you apart from the pack there, isn't it? It's the one that when they are presented with the options of the citations, they're going to go to one that they're already familiar with. And that's not necessarily organic. That's all your marketing. That's your signage in the street. It's how you show up in your local community as well. But I guess with Google AI overviews, does this shift actually put more emphasis on any aspect of SEO, like technical SEO or content quality or anything in particular?
It's a good question. I'm not sure how to answer. I think obviously it's making like the commercial aspects of SEO a little bit more competitive. I think it's changing the user journey and how previously people would find you through your blogs, and that would be not a conversion point, but it would be a point that would give them more context about who you are. So I think it's definitely changing in that regard. Whether showing up in AI overviews is changing aspects of SEO, is that sort of more
I guess. Question? Is there something that you're previously were people focused on, I don't know, ages ago, backlink building and things like that? Is there something that you think really kind of, I guess, gets you ahead?
Yeah, okay. I think the two things are your schema and your digital PR. So your schema is that structured data. It's marking up your content in a way that a robot can read it really easily. So they want to see literally in the code, this is the question and this is the answer. Just making it crystal clear for a bot. And then I guess there's the digital PR piece, which is the modern man's backlinks, where it's building up the authority of your brand and your content by getting featured in the media for stories that are relevant to your business and your industry and building authority that way.
And I think the schema point you make, and I always like to talk about this with my clients, is remember these LLMs and search engines and things like that. They're a business. So every single time they're crawling your website, it is costing them a little bit of money. And with the 12 billion pages that are online, they can't scrape all of them. It's going to cost them a lot of money in server resources and things like that. So you need to make your website as easy as possible. And that's why things like site speed is so important. It's not necessarily just about the user. Obviously, lots of people click off on a slow website, they're not interested. But that quickening of how a bot can interpret your website and get that context. Remember, it's a computer you're speaking to in that moment is really important. And that's why something like schema is so important, because that helps the bots actually interpret the content on your website. Now, Laura, you've also touched on digital PR there. How do you go about digital PR? I think obviously not giving away all of the secrets of Excite Media, but overall, how would you actually go about doing something like digital PR? Because obviously there's only so many spots in the news.
Yeah. So I think there's a few different ways you can go about this. You can think about, I guess, what shows up in the news. So it needs to be timely. So it needs to be something that's sort of like happening now, happening this week. If you think about like Road Safety Week as an example, that might be a good opportunity for a mechanic. If you think about human interest, like what do people care about? What sort of like pulls on heartstrings, those sorts of things. Those are the two biggest opportunities for a small business. Now, there are like 7 other news values that we could touch on. There's proximity and other values, but I think it really is that sort of timeliness and human interest that really gives impact. What I would do if I were a small business owner and I didn't know where to start is I would look at my competitors. I would search my competitor's name and I would go into the news tab in Google and see if anything comes up. Even if there's like a big, like audacious competitor, like you're not necessarily competing with them, but everybody knows that brand. Search for them. Who's coming up in the news tab? What are they coming up for? Like, why are they getting featured in the news? And seeing what you can sort of replicate. Do you have unique data that you can provide to a publication? Journalists love data.
I think on that data point as well, I think a lot of people assume they don't have data, but you would be surprised, just, you know, your list of contacts, your experiences, that actually just living in your CRM or in your bookkeeping system or something that is actually, you know, what is the average cost that you've quoted over the years to cut a yard? You know, all those sorts of things. It's actually really unique data that isn't necessarily going out there. And especially when it's localized, if you're in a local area, you know, say you're a landscaper that's working in Paddington, what's the average cost, you know, to cut a yard in Paddington? That sort of information is actually quite valuable to journalists. Obviously, maybe something a little bit more interesting and exciting, but that gives you a really good indication, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, Laura. So I guess speaking to marketers or business owners, how should they actually measure the success of SEO and visibility? Previously, it used to be, am I in number 1? Am I getting leads? Am I getting clicks? How would you say, if at all, has it changed?
Yeah, so I think click-through is something that we can't think about as much anymore, because there's obviously the value. If you're showing up in an AI overview, you've created brand awareness, you've created brand recall, but nobody clicked through to your website. So you can no longer look at traffic as like that key metric that it once was. I think with SEO, I always come back to thinking about the business value. Are leads up? Are sales up? Are you feeling the impact on your business from the effort that you're putting in? I think that's the biggest thing.
I think that's it, is thinking of return on investment. And I would say, as a business owner, not just return on investment of your own time as well. In those sorts of situations, you need to look at opportunity cost. Is you learning SEO actually good for your business? Is that a good use of your time? Should you actually outsource it to an agency or, you know, a member of your team to do as well? But looking at the return on investment, does the output equal the reward? I think too many people focus on these vanity metrics of where they're placed and, you know, how many impressions and things that they've got. And all of that are really good indications. But if it's not flowing through to the real world implications, then that is something that you really need to review in all of that. Laura, I guess in terms of what you do as an SEO and how you are, I guess, instructing your team, what practical changes are SEO specialists making to the actual workflows because of AI? Are you using it for anything in particular that's actually useful? I guess, how are you using it to make your job easier, but also how are you using it to, I guess, maximum impact for your results?
I guess going back to that digital PR example, I told people to use the news tab. ChatGPT is quite good for that. You can go to ChatGPT and you can say, I have a podiatry clinic. Which national days exist in Australia that are relevant for a digital PR campaign for a podiatrist? It's going to give you a list of days. And then you can say, like, how do we capitalize on that? Like, what is a podiatrist? Like, what's newsworthy for podiatry? What's showing up in the news? And you can go back and forth with ChatGPT and you can get all of this information and this data, and then you can look at it and assess it critically as a specialist. And yeah, it really streamlines that research process.
I guess talking about something that a lot of people are using it for, you've mentioned research there. What about content creation? Because a lot of people are like pushing out a lot of blog posts. I think especially a lot of business owners that are trying to do SEO for themselves that are really time poor are relying on that. What's your, I guess, stance on using it for content creation?
I think it's a good tool for content creation if you're using it as a tool and not as your writer.
Very good.
What you want to be doing is putting together a structure, and you can work with ChatGPT. You can say, I want to write a blog post on this. What should my outline be?
Yeah, what should you include?
Yeah, exactly. And you can bring it back and then you can go, oh, almost, and sort of tweak it and sort of add the different topics that you want to touch on. And then you can put your own ideas into that. You can say, well, we need to talk about this, this, and this, and you can add your own expertise to that outline, and you can give it back to ChatGPT and make it a really iterative process where you're both kind of contributing, and that way it's a nice, fairly well-written piece of content, but with all of your thoughts and your expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really key part. It's that co-contribution, isn't it? And I think that outline producing, as you said, is really good for showing how the consensus is standing. You know, what do, I guess, what does the general society say about that? And then it's thinking, okay, what unique twist do I have on this?
Exactly.
And I think the more input you can give, like ChatGPT or whatever software you're using at the beginning is really important, because that's where you start your angle from. So if you've got, not a controversial opinion, but you notice something that people do wrong with leaky toilets all the time. I'm sorry that I'm using leaky toilets. I hope that's okay with everybody. But if, you know, that is something that you're like, oh, I just see this all the time, or everybody forgets to turn the water off before they start it, and before you know it, they got a flood in their bedroom. You know, just saying, I want to come at it from this perspective, I think will give you a much better and a stronger outline to then continue writing from after that.
Yeah.
I guess we've already kind of talked a little bit about the risks of over-relying on SEO, but I guess do you want to add on to that perhaps?
Do you mean AI?
Oh, sorry, yes. Relying on AI for SEO.
I was like, I love SEO. I can't talk about that. Yeah, I mean, I guess the risk is becoming complacent and not double-checking what AI is giving you. I think that's the biggest risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you ensure, I guess, the output from AI tools actually sounds like yourself and sounds like your brand? You talked earlier about adding your own experiences in. Is there a way that people can, I guess, think of getting their brand voice a little bit into it more? Yeah,
so if you've written something before and you think that that is perfectly on brand, perfectly on tone, you can give ChatGPT that example, and you can say, read this, get familiar with my brand voice and sort of how I write, and produce this in a similar style. It's not always going to get it right. It's not going to get every nuance of exactly how you sound, but it does do pretty well. You can give caveats. You can say use Australian English. Be a little bit careful with that one, because it might start referencing koalas, which are cute. So
not koala bears though, is it? It's koalas. I learned that when I first came to Australia.
That's a beautiful contribution. Yeah, you can sort of specify things like that. You can talk about varied sentence structure. You can say, don't use these words, do use these words. You can really specify what you want from ChatGPT. It's just getting clear on your brief.
Absolutely. And I think there's one thing to fall in here. If your brand voice needs to be a little bit unique as well. I think a lot of people have gone down, make it friendly and professional. I think Laura and I talk about that a lot. Try and make sure that you've actually got a twist. Like, when you say friendly and professional, is it you want to feel like the Aussie bloke, you know, having a drink with his mates at the pub? Or do you have like a more upper scale target demographic that you're trying to hit? And learning how they speak as well. And I think a good place to actually do that from my perspective is actually getting into the Facebook groups of those local areas and hearing what's important to them. And you'll be surprised actually how much just the way that they speak can actually cross over with the work that you're doing, especially as a marketer. But are clients now expecting faster results now that, there's AI out there and there's all these tools that you can use from your experience? And do you think they should be getting faster results?
Results or deliverables?
Both. Talk to both.
I guess deliverables, yeah, like things are speeding up, and how we deliver, content and research. There are definitely time-saving aspects to that.
Mm-hmm.
There is still the time commitment of making sure that it's sort of correct and that we've assured quality in each of the pieces. And I guess in terms of results, they aren't getting quicker because AI is making things so much more competitive.
Absolutely. I think when these tools come out and things get easier for people, it is like that me trying to fix my leaky toilet.
Yeah.
People are trying it themselves first. And I think that makes it feel very accessible to people. And there are so many resources out there, especially for SEO. Our book is a great starting point for most people. But when you are starting to play in really competitive environments, I know, for example, Google Ads for personal injury law has always been something that's very, very, very competitive, where you're looking at a cost per click of, I don't know, hundreds of dollars probably. You can tell I'm not a PPC specialist, I'm an organic one. But, going in that thing is, you got to think about it the same as if you're in a competitive space. SEO is going to be more competitive organically as well. The more businesses are out there and the more, content that is being pushed into the world, A, you need that point of difference. And B, it's going to get harder because you're not the only one that's working on your SEO as well. I think when people ask, how quickly can I see this? Well, how fast or how much time is your competitor investing in SEO? All your competitors that are behind you, are they going faster than you? Are they putting in more work? Are they providing more data? Are they contributing more unique perspectives? Is there going to be an algorithm update? There's all those different caveats that are still important to remember as you're, I guess, looking for your results and things like that.
Yeah.
So the time to start SEO, if you haven't already, is now, because you might have to catch up to people who have been doing it for 10, 15 years. I mean, the Excite Media website's been up for, 18 years now? Mm-hmm. And that matters. That sort of authority that you build with Google matters. So if you're a new business, got a much steeper hill to climb from the get-go as well. How do you balance that automation with the human expertise? You kind of touched about, making sure that you quality control and you audit. How do you, I guess, balance and make sure you get that right?
I think it's just about bringing it back to making sure that you're the expert that's giving the input, that's giving the brief, that you're using, I guess like the concepts and the structures and the bases that we have always used for our deliverables. I think it's just about the input and then the QA process and making sure that it's iterative. It's not something that you can automate. It's not something that you can just feed into ChatGPT and get the results back.
Absolutely. I think it's having control of the situation.
Yeah.
An interesting analogy that just popped in my head, and I know how much you love my analogies.
I love your analogies.
Is imagine there's a robot that can do your shopping for you. They can go out and do your grocery shopping for you. You need to have control of not just perhaps the meals you're choosing, but also the ingredients that it's getting. You could actually be lactose free or something like that. And if it comes home and it's making you a cheesy lasagna with full dairy cheese, you're not going to have a fun time. So I think you can almost think about it a little bit like that. You don't just want to be in control of the overarching idea, but you want to be in control of the ingredients that it's producing as well. I like that. I'm really going to enjoy that. Good. But I guess as you are thinking of hiring new SEO specialists, if there are SEOs or marketers out there, what skills should they focus on developing to, I guess, be ahead or keep up with all this journey?
I think understanding content strategy, my voice is leaving me.
That's okay.
Understanding content strategy, but then also having the technical fundamentals. And I think with every SEO specialist, you're going to have your little niche. Like even within our team, you've got Kat, she's content through and through. But then you've got Waddy, and he cares about getting into, the technical fundamentals of SEO. And I think it's okay to have your special area, your interests, but having a really firm grasp on the other areas that maybe you don't care about as much. I think schema is a black hole in a lot of junior SEO specialists sort of remit. I think those are the big ones.
I'd add on there as well. I think two aspects: strategy as well, understanding the why you're doing something, not just how to do it, but explain why, and then being able to look at results and then actually pivot from there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are just like, I know I need to upload this blog post, so I'm going to do that. And I think actually having the why you're actually doing something is important. I would also suggest business acumen. I think actually understanding what's important to business owners is really important. And then it also allows you to have those conversations of what kind of content should be there, what kind of data should be there. Understanding how a business operates is actually going to really assist you with those relationships as well.
Yeah.
Laura, what's one aspect of SEO that AI can't replace at all? Do you think there is anything that AI just will never actually be able to replace? I mean, you've already kind of talked about that unique perspective.
I mean, I guess there's like the conversion point. I think that's a big part that AI can't replace. You know, you can have your ChatGPT response that says this is the product you should buy. And there is talk of the paid ChatGPT model with people making purchases in there. I don't feel terribly confident that people are going to do that. I think there is so much value in clicking through to that commercial page that actually sells the product, that breaks down exactly what it is, why you need it, how it works, what the specs are. I think that's still going to be really important.
Yeah, and I think I find when people go to websites and they're purchasing from a website they've never been before, I even find myself checking things like Trustpilot to even make sure it is a legitimate business as well. And if I'm doing that already while I'm on the website, I think that's something that, you know, people are going to see a little bit more secondary as well on there. Well, I guess standing out in that saturated market, we've kind of talked a little bit more about that already. How do you think personal brand and thought leadership comes into all of this conversation?
I think it's becoming essential. I think even as much as a year ago, it was a nice to have. I think it's becoming a must have, which is a lot of work for a business, especially if you're in small business. But I think it's absolutely crucial. I think having, even just on the internet, almost like a web of where your business exists. So if you think about, you've got your website up here, but then there's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. It's having like your brand existing across all of those different touch points, but then also as a person. Google sort of knows who you are. You are an entity in and of yourself. So if I'm Laura English and I'm the head of SEO at Excite Media, am I talking about SEO over on LinkedIn? You'd hope so.
We would.
You would. So like it's creating almost like that that web or that map of your brand and your business and your knowledge and your expertise across the entire internet.
Fantastic. It's interesting you've mentioned small business there, Laura, because what can small businesses do to actually stay competitive or even outplay bigger brands using AI strategically, perhaps? Like, is there something that they can do when they are time poor that might actually help them get the edge?
When they're time poor using AI. I mean, I guess the things that we always touch on, I think finding out how you can use AI to do those. So, you know, your blog posts, and they don't have to be 2,000 word posts. Like if you answer a question that you're getting asked often, that isn't like, it's not how to fix a leaky toilet. It's much more specific. So it's, do you know a brand of toilet?
The Mealy one, is that? I have no idea.
Sure, let's go Mealy.
I don't. I'm not the person. Anyone got a brand of toilet that they can volunteer? Let's go something different. A car.
All right.
I know a car brand.
So you've got like a question about a Volkswagen Golf. What's something that goes wrong with? Why is my Volkswagen Golf leaking so much oil? That's a really specific question.
Yeah.
And I was using that as a niche example, but it's probably not that niche. But answering something really specific like that, even if it's a 300-word blog post, if you're seeing a lot of Volkswagen Golf owners are coming into
like a specific model or year, a 2003 Volkswagen Golf A694?
Yeah.
That kind of niche.
Yeah. Go niche and answer those questions and just put it onto your blog. And I know it's terrible. Oh, I guess it's not AI, but if you want to make a video about it, making a video, finding all of these different like quick touch points that you can add to your brand, even if they are short form, I think it's still really valuable to show that you're an expert and that you know exactly what people are asking and what's a common problem in your industry.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We are going to do some quick fire questions shortly before we do one more question. But if you do have any questions about anything we've mentioned, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll try and get to them. But Laura, what's one thing marketers should stop doing now that AI is actually changing search? Is there something that lots of people have been doing that you would like to see stop? I've got some pet peeves.
Yeah, you go first.
I think for me, it's the bulk production of content. I'd like to see that stop. For anyone that is doing that, stop spamming the web. Put out stuff that is actually really useful and that people are actually asking. And my other thing I would like to stop seeing is people thinking that SEO is dead or that it's becoming easy.
Yeah.
I actually think it's getting harder. And also, it's just evolving. SEO is not dead. Anyone that's telling you that isn't actually probably a specialist. It is literally just evolving. It is changing into something else. I think that they would be my two things I'd like to stop seeing. Anything from yourself, Laura?
I feel passionate about people stopping link building. Spammy link building. Yeah, I should specify.
Yeah. Ethical, authority, digital PR, or even as well. I think the other thing that we actually didn't touch on is if there are articles out there that are referencing sources and you click on that link and it doesn't go anywhere and you've got a better source, just approach the website owner. You'll be surprised how many people will actually be open to that conversation of actually linking to a better source, because that gives their website and their users a better experience as well. And people always, if you're helping them, not have a broken link on their website, that's really valuable. And build relationships as well, build relationships with website owners and journalists and all that aspect as well. Okay, quick lightning round, Laura. What is your favorite AI tool that you're using right now?
Favorite AI tool? I mean, it's so boring. It is ChatGPT.
Okay.
I'm on there all day.
That's good though.
Yeah.
I think mine would be something like Surfer SEO.
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think for those that don't know what Surfer SEO is, you can put your website or your web page in there, talk about what you want to rank for, and it can kind of give you a little bit of a hint on kind of how to get there as well. So that's a great tool for me. Laura, what's the most overhyped AI feature that you've seen? Something that's really overhyped that's just annoying you? Not even in SEO, just in the world.
Probably all of the predictive writing ones where you're in an email from a client and it Google suggests, do you just want to say great thanks? I would never reply with that. Stop trying to make me do that.
You don't feel like it knows your tone?
It doesn't know my tone.
This is ironic. My most overhyped AI feature, this is a terrible thing to say, and I hope my parents aren't watching. I would like them to stop telling me about what ChatGPT can do when it's my job and I'm in there every day. Maybe that's the wrong thing to say, but I feel that very personally.
I hope they're not.
I have no idea. I'm still waiting for my mom to read our books. So. What's the biggest misconception about AI and SEO?
The biggest misconception? I think that it's ruining SEO, that you can no longer get results from SEO. I think there have been some agencies, and I'm not going to name names, but they've really played on that. They've said AI overviews ChatGPT, there's no point in your traditional SEO. Sort of organic SEO efforts. That's simply not true. People are still getting leads. They're still getting sales.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people need to stop thinking of it as a replacement channel, and it's an additional channel.
It's an additional
channel. It's previously TikTok didn't exist. Now it's just an extra channel, just something extra that people can use. I think for me, the biggest misconception with AI and SEO is that it's making it easier, and it's actually doing the complete opposite. Yeah. So, Laura, if Google disappeared tomorrow, it no longer existed, what platform would you actually focus your energy on? I feel like I should have prepared you with these as well.
Yeah, I feel like you should have. Google disappeared tomorrow.
I think for myself, I would focus on Bing and OpenAI. Bing actually has a bigger market share still than OpenAI, and I think that market share is really important.
That's true.
And then obviously OpenAI being the emerging browser for me.
That's probably it.
That's your
would be Bing. Yeah.
And Laura, if you could give SEOs one piece of advice heading into 2026, what would it be?
Get on the digital PR train.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't think enough agencies or SEOs are getting involved in digital PR, and if they are,
they're doing it badly.
Yeah, they're doing it pretty badly, or they're leaving it to somebody else. And I think there's so much value in an SEO specialist understanding how digital PR works and what is working and what journalists want to see, so that they're not saying, oh, we wrote this blog post that isn't newsworthy. Can you go
share that?
Can you go get that shared?
Yep. So I think for me, my biggest piece of advice would be bring your marketing back to basics. Start writing content or looking at your website and making changes that are beneficial for the user. Still structured well for bots, of course, but stuff that is just go back to people. I think with all of this AI and technology and things, never undervalue the relationship that you build with your customers, that you build with your community as well. I think go back to that. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for attending our webinar. I hope we haven't banged on too much. Let us know if you've liked it. Perhaps we'll do another one. Also, if you've got a question and didn't have a chance to leave it, or we didn't answer it, perhaps leave it in the comments and we'll come back to you. But also, if you'd like Laura and her team to have a look at your SEO, perhaps you want some recommendations or you'd like to sign on for any of our packages, you can get in touch with us at www.excitemedia.com.au and we would love to help. Other than that, everybody, have a great weekend and we hope you enjoyed. Thank you all so much.